Is another impact. The Sarasota Bay Estuary Program did this sea level rise viewer, and this is what Sarasota will look like with 1 foot of sea level rise and 6 foot of storm surge. This is with 9 feet total, and you can see it's interesting not only what's inundated, most of our barrier islands, but we come way up the tributaries as well, and the downtown area is like Harbor Acres there. Looks like it's pretty well underwater. And at 12 feet, all of the barrier islands are inundated, and we're moving further and further inland. And if you don't think that 12 feet of tidal surge or storm surge is likely, remember that Hurricane Camille had almost 23 feet of storm surge. Hurricane Katrina, almost 28 feet of storm surge. And Hurricane Andrew was almost 17 feet. Charlie was 6.5. This was I actually took a photo of Harold Wanless slide when he was here. That storm overwash is a concern as I look at Longboat Key, and then it's likely to flush some of the sediments out of our mangroves and exacerbate the problem further. Drought. This was back in February of this year. Somalia is having drought and looking at famine. This was a depiction, and I couldn't embed the movie there, but the Sahara has dust storms rather frequently. Sounds like I'm on, so I'm going to move back up front and hopefully not lose my sound. And so it says a number of things to me. The world is connected. The dust that comes off the Sahara is high in iron. It ends up in the Gulf. When it ends up in the Gulf, it encourages Vibrio, which is a toxic bacteria that often causes infections if you get cut by oysters and things. And it also has been implicated by encouraging another organism, not the red tide organism, but another organism to bloom, which then dies and feeds the red tide. So there is some possibility that the dust storms coming off of the Sahara are affecting such things as red tide and other kinds of toxic problems that we're having. And again, this was just a USGS study talking about that, and it was the Vibrio they are talking about. This was back in 2006 and 2009, showing below average rainfall in Florida. So Tim's slide was a lot larger, but basically as sea level comes up, it's going to force seawater further into our water supply system. And as Tim also said, the harder we suck on those wells, the faster we'll be able to encourage that saltwater intrusion. And so a lot of people say, well, let's just desalinate water, so if we run short on water. And my point here is that water and energy and food are all interrelated. It takes water to make energy. It takes about 1 million gallons of water. To make 1 million gallons of water, it takes 1 million kilowatts of electricity, etc., and vice versa, I think. So to make energy will take water, and to make, yeah, let's move on. The other thing is that it'll also affect our wastewater systems. What we found recently in St. Petersburg was that when they had really heavy rainfall events, a lot of our infrastructure is failing. It's old. It's crumbling in many instances. And if the pipes that convey sewage from your home to the sewage treatment plant are leaking as the water table comes up because it's rained or it's flooded, it'll infiltrate into those pipes and go to the sewage treatment plant, which will be overloaded, and they end up pumping that out into the bays. So I'm going to end with a thought that Sarasota has an emphasis on art, and in Hillsborough County some years ago they built a cistern in front of the Hillsborough County Courthouse that was a sculpture. It stores water in these columns that are supposed to look like a crumbling Greek ruins. Tim mentioned this economic study that the Sarasota Bay Estuary Program did a few years ago. And so I think we need to think about, as we look at the economic benefits of development, think about the net, not the gross benefits. Are we losing something as well as gaining something? We're getting some jobs with all of those high-rises going up downtown here. Sarasota Bay supports about 21,000 jobs. If we pollute the bay, how many of those jobs might we lose? Home values are increased by proximity to a healthy bay. How much might our home values go down if we end up polluting the bay, and so on? Recreation tax revenues are supported by a healthy bay. And even the Florida Realtors did a study looking at the impact of water quality on home sales. And they found a direct connection. You know, we were pumping water out of Lake Okeechobee on both coasts, and so they looked at both Lee and Martin counties and found a positive effect, a substantial positive effect of increasing water quality, and likewise a negative effect of decreasing water quality. Okay, David.